Alrighty, and we're back with Omri Ben-Canaan. As I said previously, we're going to do just some questions, FAQs that we get asked from investors all the time. As I said previously, you can just navigate through the question you want to get the answer to. And here we are with Omri.
Thank you. So I saw you have a list of I don't know how many
1,000
pages.
questions.
How many pages you have? So this is not prepared. So I'm just gonna answer as best as I can to those questions.
Yeah, let's
Shoot
go.
whenever. Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Okay, so we'll start off with some easy answering. So why don't you just give us a little bit about the Kedungu Fund and what was the inception? What was the inspiration? Why did you start it?
Interesting. So actually, it's a funny story. It started with me investing some of my money in Kedungu back in year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. I put around $500,000, acquired a few land, leasehold, and then my friends heard about it, and then they asked me, Omri, can I give you 100? Can I give you 50? And on your next deal, can I invest with you? They know I've been, doing real estate for so many years and quite successful at it. So, and I've done that before, and I wasn't making any profit on them. It's just out of friendship. And I said, okay, no problem. And a couple of friends became 10, 12 friends, and that's when I said, sorry guys, you're just gonna have to do
I'm going to
everything on your
monetize
own.
my friendship.
Yeah,
start a
I
fund.
have to monetize my friendship. No, I didn't think about the fund back then. So I said, okay, so you just do your own thing. I do my own thing, and I can't handle 10 people. It's not possible. And then I heard about funds. So I don't have a financial background, as you know, and I didn't know anything about funds. I mean, except what's everyone the common knowledge. Yeah, but so I started to look into it, and I studied. I mean, you were there. Spent like 3-4 months, 5 months maybe studying it. I read and learned by heart all investopedia.com. I watch every single YouTube video that can be watched on the subject. There was this one guy called Bridger Pennington, quite helpful. We'll put the link in the description. He has a YouTube channel that talks about funds. Young guy in the States, very, very smart, and I really like what he does. So I learned a lot of things with him, and I also took a lot of mentors and advisors to help me shape it shape basically. Yeah. And then we launched in March 2023. It was a bit chaotic at first. It was complicated.
As all startups or businesses.
Yeah, exactly. But we solved problem after problem, and now it's working fine. That's how it started.
It's working great. I mean, the last few months has been really successful. So things are going really well.
Yeah, very happy with the outcome, and I think everyone in the fund is very happy. So that's it.
So why the name, for those that don't know? I mean, the region is the namesake, but why don't you just give a little touch on like Kedungu, why the name of the fund? How does that all link together? For those that don't know.
Is there a question here? Or, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah?
So,
the Kedungu Fund.
Yeah.
Why did you not understand?
Kedungu, but why Kedungu?
Okay, why Kedungu? So, I mean, we've said that over and over in all the podcasts. Kedungu is a region that we identified as being the next hotspot in Bali. Yeah, the next.
So just to give,
I don't like to say the next Canggu because there's a very, very negative vibe about Canggu being overdeveloped, being badly developed, and so on and so forth. But when I say the next Canggu, it means the next place that is going to develop quite fast. What we're trying to do is to make it different than Canggu. So applying trying to make some rules or some guidelines on how to develop and
and we'll get into that. I think there's a whole kind of CSR, how we get involved with community, guidelines on subaks and roads and
But back to your question, why Kedungu and not Nyani or Sese or further? So in order to understand how we pick, how we identify a region, you have to understand three things. Yeah. So first, in Indonesia, government has been pushing for years and years for more and more tourists all the time. Before the president Jokowi, as the exiting president, who's been in power for 8 years, it was organic, and after Jokowi, and when Jokowi came into power, it was actually a promise, a campaign promise of Jokowi. We said he would double the number of tourists within the first 5 years of his mandate. Yeah, so I think Jakarta central government understood that tourism is around 2014-15, we understood that tourism is crazy source of revenue, and that Indonesia. I remember back then Singapore had 24 million tourists per year, and Indonesia had only 9.7.
Oh wow!
So Singapore is big like this, and Indonesia is huge. Yeah, Indonesia is the size of Europe, so it's 5,000 kilometers wide. It's crazy. There's no limit to how many tourists you can bring. Yeah. I think France is 100 million. I'm French, so that gives you a bit of a benchmark.
I think it's number one tourist location, France.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, so this is the first rule is that there are more and more tourists coming every year. Yeah, because there are more tourists. I mean, more people need more accommodation, need more food. I mean, restaurants, gyms, schools, whatever. Yeah, and it's not only more tourists; it's more tourists and more expats as well. Yeah, because the population of expats grows according to the population of the tourist population as well. Yeah. So first rule is much more tourists all the time. Yeah, every year on year. The second rule is there's a law in Bali that says you cannot build above 50 meters. We call it the coconut tree law. Yeah, which dates 1966, if I'm not mistaken, around 66. And because of that rule. So you can't stack people up. You can't put them in like tall buildings. So expansion is horizontal, right? And to understand where that expansion is going, you just look at the map and look at where the ocean is, and it just follows the coast, right? So you have this in your equation, yeah. So you're more tourists, expansion is following the coast. But to fine-tune that expansion pattern, surf is coming into play. So it follows the coast, yes, but it goes from surf spot to surf spots primarily. It will develop everywhere.
Yeah, so there's a general westward trend, and then the hot spots around the surf spots.
Exactly, westwards and go from surf spot to surf spot. So Perenan you have like Brawa, Batu Bolong, Perenan, surf spots, yeah? And then nothing until Kedungu. So Kedungu is developing at a fast pace because of that. That's basically
the three kind
that's the thesis.
Underlying reasons as the Kedungu Fund investment thesis, really.
That's the investment thesis.
Okay.
And it started with me, like I said before, it started with me investing, because this is what I do. I do what I call pioneer investments. So I invest in locations where development has not yet hit heavily. I did it in Sumba, I did it in Perenan, I did it in Kedungu and other places. And now, as development is coming and starting, has already started. We already have like historical data a couple of years. So there's more and more people investing now.
Okay. So the fund structure, I suppose, is probably the number one question we get. How is the fund structured? How does it work? And where's it registered? The corporate entities, etc.
Sure. So the way we structured it, and we can insert maybe a little graphic. So the fund is in Singapore. The holdco, the holding company is in Singapore. So the shareholder of the fund, investor in the fund, becomes shareholder of the Singapore company, one of the Singapore companies, because we have a few. And then those companies control a PMA here called PMA the Kedungu Fund. PTPMA, the Kedungu Fund, which is an SPV. Special SPV is a special purpose vehicle, which is basically the PMA that handles all the assets, do the operational, payroll, and so on and so forth.
So the holdco owns the SPV, yeah?
Yeah, holdco controls the SPV, together with the GP, so general partnership, which is the fund manager. So fund manager is 2%, and then holdco is 98%. That's the way we structure. And the fund manager is controlled by our group, Kosong Satu Group, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I suppose the other, I would say, overarching kind of mechanism in the fund is the 5-year investment term.
Yeah.
Why 5 years? What is the thinking behind that? And how does it work?
So we discussed previously the 3 golden rules of how the investment thesis work. So you have your the government pushing for motorists, the law that prohibits building 50 meters, and the surf spots. Yeah. So if you have that, you can predict, when you know the data of the first how many tourists are going to come, are coming and are going to come. When you have good enough projections, you can predict how long it will take for an area to develop from scratch, from zero to
undeveloped to mature.
Like I said, from rice field to Canggu. But it's basically rice field to Canggu is 8 years. Rice field to Perenan is 5.5, 6 years. Yeah. So that gives you a kind of like a benchmark. So basically, from rice fields to fairly developed is around 5 years. And we've seen that over and over again. This is not something new. We have so much historical data on that.
Yeah, maybe just so the development trend, started in Kuta by the airport.
Yeah.
Went up the coast, westward, Seminyak, Berewa.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those are generally 5 to 8 year development cycles.
Well, to the 5-year thing, so what we notice is that the land price, the real estate value to reach its peak, not its peak, but the point at which before it starts plateauing, okay? So to reach that point, which is around 45 million rupiah per ara, so per 100 square meter per year, this is 5 years. So to go from a land price of 5 million rupiah per ara per year to 45 million rupiah per ara per year, it takes about 5 years, which is super fast.
Yeah, so
right?
it's a solid medium-term investment, 5-year fund. Yeah. Okay. And
so we use that metrics to define the
investment term,
the lifespan of the fund. Yeah.
Okay. I swear the other number one question is obviously the...
you have a lot of number one questions. Yeah.
Okay, top 3 or 4.
Okay.
So it's the ticket.
Yeah.
Minimum ticket, why is it set at that?
$30,000. USD, huh? All of this is USD.
Yeah. Okay.
We will probably go back up in a couple, probably by Q1 2025, we'll go back up to 75.
Okay. And how many investors you're on currently?
Currently, there is 50 something, 53 or 54, forgot.
And what's the average?
So currently is mid-November 2024. Let's say that, yeah. And the average ticket is around $100,000.
Okay. So then dividends and returns. So how is that? How does it work? So there is dividend, as in a drawdown, regular drawdowns.
Yeah.
How does that work? And then how does the funds at the end of the fund get distributed?
Okay. So originally there was no dividends along the way. Okay. As how the fund was when the fund was created and how we shaped it. It was just an investment. Wait 5 years and
because it was mainly land banking in the beginning. Yeah.
In the beginning, yeah. And then along the way, we decided to change that a little bit. I mean, we listened to our investors and to people that we talked to about the fund. So there will be some dividends distributed along the way, and those dividends are coming from the rental income we get from the land we have developed. So, for example, the school,
Mm-hmm.
a very, very concrete example, the school, a rent of, I mean, there's a fixed rate and a variable rent, so around a little bit over $100,000, in rupiah. Around 70% of that, 60 to 70%, will be redistributed to the shareholders at the end of each year. So the school is being built right now. We are in November 2024. We're opening in the first term will be August 2025. So by the end, so the rent will be paid at that time. So at the end of 2025, around 70% of that will be distributed to the shareholders.
And that's annually or like a quarterly
Annually.
distribution?
Annually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But understand this. So right now we only have one project in the being actually developed. Yeah. By the end of 2025, we probably have more because we have smaller projects, smaller developments. I don't know yet what the rent will be or whatever. And by the end of 2026, we'll have many more. But those dividends won't be as big as the when we liquidate the fund.
So the main focus of the fund is the capital appreciation at the end of the term.
Absolutely,
yeah?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, well, just touching on property and actually, what are the development plans? How do you select the properties? And well, let's talk about selection next. But what is actually in the portfolio now, and how did you select those?
So from experience, every time I've been in the past, I've been pioneer investing in Perenan, for instance. The first thing I do, is acquire street front properties.
Yep.
So properties that can be developed into for commercial purpose. So high street retail.
High Street, yeah.
Yeah. The reason behind that is that because there's so many properties, there's a scarcity of plots, so the price rise even higher than the residential properties. So when you reach your peak, if you're at 40-45 million for one residential property, the street front commercial property will be around 70-80 million. Let's say 70 million. Yeah. So your markup is much bigger. Your profit is much bigger. Yeah, exactly. So we focused since the beginning of the fund, the inception, when we all the investments we've done basically is commercial properties. We are just now acquiring our first residential properties.
So that's off Main Road, a little bit back, away from the coast.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the problem, to be honest with you, I wouldn't if there were some properties left. But it's very, very hard today in Kedungu, if not impossible, to find a plot on the main streets. And everything we find, we don't even put it on the market. Everything we find, we just grab it instantly. Yeah.
So maybe run through just a couple of those kind of like flagship properties that we have in the portfolio.
Yeah.
Like the bigger ones, and what is the plan? Because you obviously got the school. There's a couple more green spaces that we're planning, which we'll get into later. But maybe the school, opposite the school, what's the kind of...
So the school is really in the center of Kedungu. What we did is we're lucky to acquire a 30 ara plots right across the street from the school. And the idea on that plot is to develop like a small shopping plaza with a little bit of mixed use. There will be like about 15, 20 apartments.
Mixed use as in residential, or mixed use as in...
residential. Residential and commercial, and maybe a little bit of entertainment, sports. We are still working on the concept. Our architects, Lucas.
So that together with the school will be kind of like the anchor.
So if you have the school and then you have the shopping plaza in front, and then we also control the land that's at the crossing where the Banjar is, near the Padel. So we have both corners. So we have quite a bit of land concentrated in that small space, that small area. And the idea is to make of this the center of Kedungu, the real hyper center of Kedungu.
Okay.
Yeah, and the circulation, because you have also road going back to the main street from a back way, there's I mean, the circulation of for the traffic makes sense there. So if things are well prepared and well planned, we could have a no traffic situation.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, not to get to Kedungu, but in Kedungu.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't. Yeah,
To
okay.
get to Kedungu is another animal altogether. Yeah.
Well, let's loop back on that later when we talk about all our kind of like sustainable, how we doing or trying to get involved more with the planning of
Yeah.
Kedungu, etc. But that's interesting. That's an interesting point. So okay, so that's the kind of strategies thus far. Looking forward, what are you going to continue on that? Are you going to develop more? Is it more residential focus, or are you going to keep that split as far as commercial residential mix? Like, what is the future
The
plan?
split is 80-20. That's our plan. 80% residential, 80% commercial, 20% residential. Let me explain the reason behind that. Yeah, there are thousands of people, hundreds of developers on the island. Some of them do a horrible job. Some of them do an amazing job. Okay, you have guys like Oxo. You have they do very very proper residential development, and fighting against all these guys didn't make sense to me. And also just the idea of just buying a land, putting a villa on top or an apartment building or whatever, selling it and making money, for me it just didn't make sense. I thought, okay, when if we do this fund, if we do it correctly, we have a very very long-term approach to how we do the fund, how it will impact the life in Kedungu, and trying to make all of this better and sustainable. Yeah. So instead of going residential and building a bunch of villas, we decided to go into more community/structural developments. So the school was the first one. The school actually makes less money than, as a developer, it makes less money than any residential development. However, the school brings there's 100 to 120 kids in the school, so that's, you multiply this by 3. That's 400 people that the families that will come to Kedungu or have an interest in Kedungu. So those people need houses, restaurants, supermarkets.
It's a lot of footfall for the area. For
Yeah,
all the businesses
exactly.
in the area. Yeah.
Exactly. So we may make less money and it's a much bigger headache than developing villas, but it's much more complicated to develop a school, of course, and it's not as profitable. However, the ripple effect of developing this is huge.
Yeah.
And if everything is done in the right way, then we have a situation where we can actually bring Kedungu where we want to bring it, which is not Chongu, basically. Yeah. So that's how we plan the future.
All right. So just looping back on that. So your other kind of neighbor developers, do you have any idea who they are and what they're building? Because we get asked that quite a lot as far as what kind of company the Kedungu Fund is in, and what the plans are outside of what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, but there are some big players in Kedungu, much bigger than us. The biggest of all being Ciputra Group. So Ciputra is a very, very well-known Indonesian conglomerate. They have banks. They have everything. Everything you can think of, they probably have it. Yeah. These guys don't develop a compound of 10 villas. They develop cities. Yeah. And what they did, which is pretty visionary and amazing, they purchased or leased or bought 88, I believe, hectares of land. So it's not in Kedungu per se. It's a little bit westward of Kedungu. We call Kedungu the wider Kedungu, let's say, but their area is called Pangkung Tiba. It's just next to Kedungu.
Up the west, yeah.
Westward, yeah. But it's part of the wider Kedungu, yeah. So they have a plan to develop 400 villas and a bunch of other things, they already built beautiful roads, very wide, very well done, well maintained. They are doing a great job. There was a couple of hotels that were supposed to come at some point. Was the Ritz-Carlton, I believe, and Rosewood Hotel. So I understand the Ritz-Carlton said they would postpone their involvement in Kedungu because in the pandemic, and Rosewood, I think, is still in the.
But they're still holding
race,
holding land there, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they sell it.
It's on. Those would be on Chipotra land, from what I understand.
Okay.
The same as the glamping. So Roger, that we did the podcast with. So the glamping is on Chipotra's land, and the beach club, the family beach club, they are developing next to the glamping, which is not a beach club like Atlas or Fins. It's not crazy noise, is on Chipotra's land as well, So you have these guys, biggest of all, and then you have smaller developers. So there was one company called Lime Tree Capital. It's a Hong Kong based fund, and they have this brand called Belong Bali, and they have 32 hectares of land between Chiputra and the actual Kedungu. If you know where Joshua District is, so like in whatever is in front of Joshua District, only bit on the left, and they are selling everything now. So they had a plan to develop, which was great, and now they are liquidating. I don't know why. Potato Head has some land over there. I don't know what their plan is. They started to develop something pre-pandemic, and then pandemic they stopped. And then you have another company, a large developer called Ombak, PT Ombak, which is a Jakarta-based Indonesian company. And they have, if you're in Kedungu, if you're at the school, for instance, you go towards the beach, after you pass Kedungu Real Estate, on that big, long piece of road that goes to the beach, near Tipsy Pig and Swell. So all the right side belongs to that company. And I understand that I was told recently, actually this morning, that they were selling some of their land. And then there's another developer that has land on the ocean front, where the beach, Pantai Cinta, Beach Love is, the little cafe with the bean bags.
Okay.
So the restaurant belongs to him. You know that restaurant they are currently building on
the bamboo.
Yeah, the bamboo one. Okay. So those are the big guys, and then there's us. I guess we are number 4 or something like that. It's 5 maybe. And then there's a bunch of others. You have Baza who develops Origins in Yanni. So they have some building, beautiful.
Lofts and 1 bedrooms and also mixed use. Also.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very, very nice. And nice people too. So that's next to Swell. And then what else is there? I forgot some. There's a bunch of other. Yeah, there's many. There are many like smaller ones.
Medium to small. Yeah. Okay. Well, I suppose this gets to another question that is getting thrown around Bali at the moment is, so let's talk outside of Kedungu, because with all these developments and major developers, etc., there's a strain on infrastructure, roads, etc., etc. So what is happening, medium to long term, as far as improvements to Bali to be able to manage this capacity problem? Or is it even a capacity problem? What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, I've been in Bali 30 years, and I hear sometimes people saying, "Okay, Bali is finished. There's too much traffic." Well, they said the same thing 30 years ago. So there's nothing new here. The traffic is no good. The infrastructure, the road infrastructure, is not so good. But we have a problem of traffic in Paris as well, and in many major cities in the world. People tend to forget when they come to Bali that prior to coming to Bali, they were commuting for 1 hour every day, or at least 1 hour.
3 hours to get to the airport in traffic.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, Bali definitely has a problem, a traffic problem. There are some things that are done to mitigate that problem, and I think the main project being developed now is the metro. So there is, for those who don't know, there is an underground and above ground, but mainly underground metro being built from the airport to right now it's until Mungu, which is CC, Mungu. So airport, central parking in Kuta, T-junction of Sunset Road and Kerobokan, then the soccer field in Brawa, and then Mungu. Okay?
And Tanalot, no? Maybe.
Not official,
Okay.
not confirmed yet. There were talks. There were talks about Nyani as well. There are, people talk, but nothing is confirmed yet. Yeah. So that's underway, and we know the financier. We've met him. We are involved in a way, in some way in the project, with one of our companies, Bali Prod. So yeah, it's happening. It's a 3-year development. I mean, it's a many years development, but this leg is 3 years. And then after this is finished, it will be from Central Park here, it will go to Sanur, I believe. And once this is finished, it goes from Sanur to Sukawati to Ubud. Okay, and once this is finished, it goes from the airport to Jimbara and to Nusa Dua, or the other way around. I forgot. Maybe Nusa Dua first, Ubud after.
So they're doing the one leg first and then building the
so
secondary legs.
the Mungu one is confirmed. It's happening now, being built, and then the Sanur one is confirmed. It's happening right after.
Okay.
And the next two, so the Ubud one and the Jimbaran one, Nusa Dua one, is still under study.
Okay.
From what I understand.
And things change in Bali.
Things change a lot in Bali. So most of this will be underground, but there will be some parts that's above the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me go back quickly on the metro thing.
Yeah.
It's not a transportation project. It is a transportation project, but it's also a real estate project. Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I think are pretty sweet that will happen with that. So first, at each station, there will be a number of businesses, underground businesses that will be developed. Okay. Very much like Tokyo or Hong Kong or
so
some
down
places.
Underground,
Yeah.
like retail units.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
or Singapore, And first of all, and secondly, the plan is, from what we were told by the metro team, to have, like in Hong Kong, you can check in if you go to the airport and you want to check in. You can do the check-in in the city. I forgot the name of the station. I think it's Central Station or something.
Oh, yeah.
You can check in your luggage, just like an airport check-in, but it's in the city, which is amazing for people that have a late flight.
Yeah.
So you check out. Imagine a tourist in Bali with their family. They are in Sese or something, and they check out at 11 or 12 a.m. and their flight is 10 p.m. What do?
You don't want to lug your bags around.
They are what they do. I can tell you what they do. They have their bags in the car of the driver, and they roam around, and they create more traffic. Yeah. So now this is alleviated by the fact that they can check in their luggage in Sese directly. Luggage is transported to the airport. They don't see their luggage until they arrive at their destination in another country. Yeah. And then they can do whatever they want. Take the metro, take the Gojek, whatever, and then show up at the airport. They already have their boarding pass, everything.
Oh wow!
So that's I think
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be super cool. Yeah.
Okay, and then just touch on the airport because that's big news. I think there's both expansion plans for existing, which are a little bit dubious because there's we don't quite know if they are expanding the current airport, international airport, and then the new airport up north.
So. The expansion of the airport, there's nothing new here. I've been coming since 1994, and the airport is in constant expansion. It is constantly being expanded.
But I mean,
So
like main runways being built.
I am not sure about that, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't want to say things that I don't know for sure. So I
I
don't know
if
about
got the
that.
space anyway. I mean,
It's been in the talks, yeah. But
Yeah.
you can always reclaim on the ocean, which is already the case for the airport, you know. So so the current the Ngorara airport, I don't know, but I mean I know what everybody knows, yeah. So I read in the I read the news that they want to expand, blah blah, yeah. And the other airports, it's a project that's been in the works for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And on and off and on and
It's
off.
picked up every new kind of legislation, every new president
election,
picks it up.
yeah.
Election, yeah.
But yeah, so Prabowo, the new president, Indonesian president, said right at the beginning of his mandate that he will build the airport, and more than that, he said that he want to make Bali become a hub like Singapore or Hong Kong. So
Like a financial hub, business, corporation,
hub.
banking.
A hub. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I read.
It's a big
anyway.
statement.
Yeah, it's a big statement.
Okay.
But what the north, so the airport will be around Singaraja, Lovina, Singaraja, like north, and that will obviously develop the region.
Yeah,
That
so
will-
a game changer. It'll kind of give the island more equity because it's just all south development.
Yeah.
It'll balance things. A lot
It will
better.
balance things.
Yeah.
The north of Bali is beautiful, so hopefully it can
And
develop.
just so
some region.
under-visited, and underdeveloped.
Absolutely.
And people forget, 5 minutes outside of Canggu, etc., it's just green. Rice paddies, you don't see anybody for
Yeah,
days.
exactly. I
I mean, Bali is a big place.
was in Pemutaran 2 weeks ago. It's near Menjangan.
Mhm.
I mean, you swim on your own in the ocean, and there's crazy beautiful hotels there, like really nice, and it's
It's
really
well-priced
peaceful
and
and it's
peaceful, yeah.
beautiful. A lot of corals because there's a coral conservation program being developed 30 years ago. So now it's you go in the water, you just go like this, and it's full of fish and corals. Beautiful. Pemutaran Taman Selini, good hotel on the beach.
There you go.
Free
Free
ad.
info. Free local info, insider
exactly.
info.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to the fund and the financial tax fee structures, etc., because we get asked this a lot.
Yeah.
As far as fees go, you've got, I'll read them off here. You've got acquisition, asset management, disposal, capex, and arrangement fee. So acquisition, what is that? How does it work?
So you're missing one, but okay. So let me walk you through the fees. So we have the main fee is a 2% management fee. That is a yearly fee. Okay, it's very industry standard, and that's the only fee that is based on the capital. So that's the only percentage that will be taken from the actual investments of the shareholders, the investors.
And every year, so it's on AUM, yeah?
Yearly, yeah. Every March. So there's this one fee, okay? And then you have a few different fees that are based on events. So I forgot them, so you have to
So
tell me acquisition fee.
Yeah, acquisition.
Okay, so we have a 3% acquisition fee.
Yeah.
So the 3% acquisition fee means whenever the fund acquire an asset, so let's say we acquire an asset for $100,000, I mean equivalent in IDR, then the general partnership, the fund manager, which is us, will take $3,000 of that. Yeah, 3%. So then we have asset management fee, 3% as well. So this is revenue from operational activities. So for instance, the school rental is $100,000 per year. So the fund manager will get 3% of that. Yeah?
Okay.
And then you have disposal fee.
Yeah.
So that's also 3%. So when we liquidate, we are not liquidating anything right now, but when the time comes and we start liquidating, so very much like a real estate agent, when we liquidate, say like land A is liquidated, is sold for $100,000, so the fund will get 3%.
That's
of that.
yeah. So at the end of the fund,
At
around
the
March
end-
2020.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then there's the capex. So what is that? What does it mean? And what's the fee?
So this fee is based on is basically construction. So the school, for instance, to build the school, it costs around $700,000, something like that. So the fund will get 3% of that as well.
Okay. And then the final one is the arrangement fee.
So the arrangement fee is a 1% fee, and is based on loans. If we decide to raise debt at some point, which was something we talked about, so the fund manager, the GP, the general partnership, will get 1% of whatever volume of loans is.
If that happens.
If that happens, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So all those fees are based on events, are based on operational activities or trading land and whatever, not based on the capital. The capital stays the same, yeah.
Okay. And then obviously the big one is the performance fee. How does that work?
So
and then let's throw in the clawback there also.
So let's put the little graph here, insert the little graph here, because it's, okay. So the way the fund pays itself, so the fund manager, the GP, is as follows. So I'm hoping we have a little graph here, but basically the first 8% of any proceeds that the fund makes at the end of the fund.
At the end of the fund. So this
at
is
the end of the fund.
At the end,
Yeah, at the very end. Once let's say we've liquidated everything, and we have a bunch of money in the bank. But just to make it simple, So that money, what happens with that money? So the first 8% goes to the limited partners, to the investors, no question. First 8% for them, and then from 8 to 14, 8% to 14%, so there's 6 percentiles here. It's called the catch-up, and goes to the general partnership, goes to the fund. Okay. Then from 14 to 24. Okay, there's 10 percentiles. So 14 to 24 is split 80% to the LPs, limited partners, so the investors, and 20% to the GP. Okay, the fund manager.
Yeah.
And then from 24 plus, whatever, 10,000%.
Yeah.
So it's split again, 65% to the LPs and 35% to the GP.
Okay.
To the fund manager. So we did that. I did that, and I didn't invent it. I copied a fund I was following in the States, and I thought it was pretty smart because it gives an incentive. It gives the fund an incentive to aim for higher returns.
Yeah, I suppose the GP and the LP is then in the same boat.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
I consider the LPs as partners.
Yeah.
We're all partners.
Well, we're all shareholders. Yeah. So
we're all shareholders.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And me even more because I'm also a LP.
Investor. Yeah.
So I have $500,000 invested in the fund as well.
Yeah.
So I have skin in the game, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay. So then share price. How does that work? Because it does change every month or 2 months. Walk us through that.
Okay, so the share price is only relevant. This is something there's a misconception about this in many investors' mind, and I want to set the record straight here. The share price is only relevant. It's a good indicator all along the way, but it's only relevant at onboarding. Okay, so there's a share price today, as of today, mid-November, is $102.50. Okay, USD. I mean equivalent in rupiah. Actually, no, because it's in Singapore, so $102.50. When at the inception of the fund, the share price, which is a year and a half ago, was $44.5. So we've more than doubled the share price within the span of a year and a half. Yeah. The way it's calculated, basically, so today is pretty easy because the fund doesn't hold complicated assets. The school is starting.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, but so far the school is just a land with a construction contract on top. Yeah, there's no business yet. So it's pretty simple because the way we calculate it is we basically look at the price. You take, like we have a bunch of land, so we look at the price for each of these lands we acquired the land at, and then the fair market value today, and so the difference basically is your profit. So we are putting ourselves in a situation where if we were to liquidate that land today, how much we would get, basically, yeah? And so that's difference is the profit we would make, yeah? So it's unrealized because it's just a fair market value. This is done by a valuer that we hired called KJPP, sorry.
Maybe touch on them a little bit. So who are they?
They are Indonesian government stamped valuer. They are partner with CBRE. They are the guys you go to
so
value your assets.
So it's a paper valuation, and they rubber stamp it.
They are third parties, so they are not involved, and they don't have any the objective, basically. Okay. So they go and they do a market study, and they ask a bunch of people, and they have their own data, and so I mean, it's not. I know it's not government, but it's almost government. Yeah.
Okay, so they obviously value cash on hand, then they would value bare land assets, and then on ongoing development. So those three.
So they don't value cash on hand because I just look at the bank account.
You give it to
I don't ask them. But yeah,
but
basically
three metrics.
Yeah, the land assets, undeveloped asset, and developed asset. Yeah. So but okay, so we do that, and on a almost monthly basis, we check all the assets we have. We look at the value of each one of them, and we add them up, and this makes basically the value of the fund, and thereby we divide by how many shares outstanding, and we have the value of the shares basically.
Okay.
So that's how it goes.
So I think that wraps up valuation quite clearly. I think another thing around the kind of financials is tax. So let's talk about tax with the fund, and then we'll talk about tax with investor.
Yeah. Just quickly before we wrap this up, we are also using Mazar. So KGPP is so it's more about compliance, yeah. KGPP is the valuer for assets, and then we use another company called Mazar, very, very famous around the world. So those guys are basically auditing our accounts, yeah, and they are stamping.
And they do that quarterly, yearly.
Yeah.
Yearly account.
So there's both. There's a light one and a less light one and a heavy one. So both quarterly and yearly.
Okay. So just touching on, we'll loop back on this. So tax. So tax for the fund and tax for the investor. How does that work? So,
there are many. I mean, it's an Indonesian company. We pay our tax. We have corporate tax or a bunch of taxes, income tax when we sell a land, and so on and so forth. So I don't think I'm going to go on that because that doesn't have an impact on the investors. What does have an impact is when we funnel up the money of the dividends back up to Singapore, there's a 10% withholding tax, which is by law we have to do that. But every investor, once they're on board, they have access to a dashboard, which we've developed internally, and that dashboard gives you how much money they invested, like their start capital, and then a bunch of data on how the health of the fund and how much money they basically made with their capital. Yeah, so those data are net. So whatever they see on the dashboard is a net value. Yeah. So they are already all the taxes have been accounted for in there. Yeah. But basically, for tax regarding the funds tax, this is it. Now, so I'm asked this all the time. How much tax am I going to pay? My answer is I don't know. So every person in the world has a different tax exposure and tax situation. Yeah, you can be two citizens of the same country and you have different tax exposure. Yeah, so I don't have an answer for those people, for anyone. This is something they need to ask their CPA or their tax consultant in their own country, because I cannot know what people's situation is.
Okay.
Yeah, so some countries are taxing more than others. You know, I'm French, so I know a lot about that. Yeah. Yeah, American are double taxed, and some countries have tax treaties, and
If you're in Dubai,
so
no tax. Singapore, you've got all
yeah,
kinds of things.
it's really hard for us to give a straight answer to that, because it really depends on everyone's situation. It also depends if the investor is a person or a company. We have also like companies. I think like 20-30% of our investors are companies, whether private limited or LLCs or SAS or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then just going back onto share valuation, and a question we get asked a lot is dilution, and is the fund open or close-ended? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so just going back to the kind of valuation, etc., and a question I get asked a lot also is dilution.
Sure.
How does that work?
Okay, so we basically, when a shareholder is onboarded, what we do is we emit new shares. Okay, so the fact that a new shareholder comes in doesn't change the NAV per share. Okay, the net asset value per share, the price of the share. What changes the price of the share is the activity of the fund, so the value of its assets, which is valuated, like we said, by KGPP and so on. So whenever a new shareholder is in, the percentage that the other shareholders hold diminishes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because investors get diluted. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the percentage. Yeah. However, the number of shares always stay the same, and the value of those shares increases. So the fact that the percentage decreases is irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Basically.
Okay. So let's link back then to onboarding, which is what you just mentioned. So how does the onboarding process work, and why did you set it up in this way? Like, who does it?
Okay,
Where do they do it?
Okay, let me explain exactly like the step by step. Yeah. So when we onboard someone, so first of all, there's a handshake, real or virtual, where we say, okay, we are interested, like an investor is interested in investing so many dollars in the fund, so let's say $100,000, whatever. The next step, so we get some information from that shareholders, which is namely full name, address, email address, passport copy, and the currency they will send their capital injection. Once we have that, we feed that information to Sleek. So Sleek, SLEEK, is a company in Singapore. It's basically our corporate agent. These are the guys that are that have created our company and that are doing our accounting in Singapore, doing all the onboarding, everything that's corporate is done by them, including the KYC. So we feed that information to Sleek. Sleek then send an invitation email to the investors to do the KYC. So KYC AML. So for those who don't know, KYC means know your client or customer, and AML is anti-money laundering. Basically, it's a quick check that financial institution do before onboarding someone. So like if you open a bank somewhere, a bank account somewhere, then they will do the same process. Yeah. So basically what they ask is proof of domicile, and there's a couple of things, source of wealth, these kind of things. Which you need to prove. And once this is green lighted, it takes around 1 week. It can be a bit longer for corporate entities. If the investor is corporate, then it will take probably a couple of weeks. If it's simple, maybe they have more questions, or it adds up. Yeah. But for a normal investor, like a person, an individual, it takes about anywhere between 3 days to 1 week. Yeah. Once this is done, and at the same time, we have sent an investor agreement to the shareholder agreement to the investor, which they sign. And once we have this, and then the KYC is green lighted, then we send a payment request to our the fund's bank.
Mm-hmm.
Once the funds are transferred, the day they hit the account, this is when the investment starts. Their investment starts to work. We give them access to their dashboard. They can see the dates and the capital and everything. And we also send the proof of payments to Slick again, who sends it to Accra. Accra is the corporate arm of the Ministry of Finance in Singapore, and those are the guys that emit the share certificate. That process, that share certificate process, takes anywhere between 1 week and 5 weeks. I have zero control on that. This is Singapore government, and sometimes it's super fast. Sometimes it takes a couple of days, and sometimes it's like 3-4 weeks. I have no idea why.
But a fairly easy onboarding process.
It's very, very smooth.
So then I'm a shareholder now. So we've gone through the onboarding, done that. What kind of updates, regular, what kind of communications do I receive? Regular updates, and then what is actually on that dashboard? What do I actually see as an investor?
Basically, it says how much you invested, the net asset value per share, so the price of the share today, the price at which it was bought, when it was bought, how long more until exit. Sorry.
And
what
the
else?
Properties, updates.
All the properties.
Monthly newsletter, I think you do.
So let me get to that in a second. So all the properties, the assets of asset portfolio basically, and for each property, the price it was purchased at and the price it's valued at today. And then we have like little newsroom sort of. So those are quite informal actually. It's me writing. Every couple of months, 2-3 months, I send some sort of update on what's going on in Kedungu, where about the fund, but also about Kedungu, the new developments, these kind of things. And that's basically
also it. Our social media is always updated with
our social media are daily updated daily. And all the documents also about the companies, the different companies are in that dashboard, so people can, check them out.
All right, so corporate social responsibility. What does the Kedungu Fund do for Kedungu? How's it involved? I mean, it's still a undeveloped little town, really, village, not a village, a little region, and I know Kedungu Fund's heavily engaged in what goes on there, trying to improve the community, improve everybody's lives, the standard of living, etc. Maybe just touch on a couple of the projects, and we can then go deeper into some others.
Sure. First, I'd like to say that whatever we do, we'll do it in a sustainable way. I've always believed that you can make money and be sustainable. Some people think it's
one or the other.
Yeah, it cannot be used in the same sentence, and I think it's a huge mistake.
And what do you mean by sustainable? What does sustainability mean to you? Or the fund?
Green space. As far as construction is concerned, so like green spaces, green energy, recycling, these kind of things. And also on an aesthetical standpoint, the cosmetic is it's important. It has to be agreeable to the eye. The problem in Bali, unlike major cities or unlike most countries, most Western countries anyway, that I know, there's no urban plan, or not that much anyway. In France anyway, if you want to build something, you can only build something that matches with the rest of the buildings around, right? And they have laws until the color of your blinds. You can't. Some cities you cannot put like red blinds or blue blinds or whatever because there's a rule about that. It's just so it stay harmonious. And in Bali there's nothing about that. You can there are rules about the roof and the height, whatever, but you can do whatever you want, and so you have a very it's not harmonious at all, and I think it's a bit sad. It gives much more freedom to developers, of course, but on a general, I love this island. I've been living here like 30 years almost. Well, actually, 30 years. So I think it's a bit sad that some developments are. I mean, some things are really ugly. Let's just.
It is a big pity,
Yeah.
like especially green spaces and that Balinese, the traditional Balinese aesthetic. Even if it's got a modern edge or a modern take on it,
Yeah.
I think it's so important not to kind of lose that.
I
But
think-
especially green spaces.
Yeah, I think what would be beneficial to the island is to have, whenever you apply for before the IMB or now the SLF, PBGSF, the building permit, it should go through a committee that agrees on not only the height and the size of the roof and this kind of like measures and data, but agrees on the general, stamped the general project. I think it's a pity that there is no more oversight over the aesthetical point. Yeah. So
Which I mean then leads us back to this kind of thing. If it happens at all, and generally doesn't, needs to happen on a community level.
yeah,
So it's how much sway or influence you can kind of muster on the community or the Banjar level to try and get buy-in to any kind of aesthetic that you want to follow through. And I think that's a kind of a thing that we're trying to do or achieve at the Kedungu Fund is get as much buy-in with the community to at least do some offset on construction off the main road, green spaces, trees, those kinds of things.
I don't know if I answered your question previously. I forgot what it was actually. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
So there is a number of things that can be done. The problem is that because there's no oversight, and no one does it, does them. So there are things that, as a group, you have more power to do them. So, for example, in Perenan, I'm part of the Perenan group, which I, basically created with my friend Dodo years ago, and there's 800 people in that group. Yeah. And we've done great things. We've built the shortcut, the Peruvian shortcut. Well, it didn't exist until we built it, with a group of the OGs, the Peruvian OGs, so we're like 20, 30 people.
I remember we were digging holes and laying concrete.
Yeah. We actually did it with our own hands because we ran out of money at some point. But it was an adventure. It was funny.
Yeah. And that was a game changer for Perenan. So those kinds of initiatives are so important. So incredibly
people
important.
don't understand I mean, they do understand, but the importance of circulation of shortcuts. Shortcuts is the key to everything, basically. If you remove the Shangu shortcut and you remove the Perenan shortcut, Bali is a hellhole.
Yeah.
It's already a hellhole as it is, as far as traffic is concerned. Yeah.
But it would this does not allow transport. You can't. It would all just be gridlock from the
absolutely,
main road.
absolutely.
It wouldn't have developed actually.
It wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Shortcuts are very important. And I have a few ideas for Kedungu as far as shortcuts are concerned as well. But in Perenan we've planted like hundreds of trees. We've installed. We built the security box near the shortcut, and I keep paying every month the security team there. What have we done yet? So many things, so many smaller things as well.
And also donations to the community a while back.
Plenty, yeah. Today the Peruvian community is quite wealthy, so there's no need. I mean the local community, there's no need for much donations. But there's poorer community or more communities more in need. Kedungu, for instance. So basically what we did here, I want to apply the same system in the same practices in Kedungu. But we have now the experience of years of managing this community here, so I know what not to do. So what I'm really, really interested in Kedungu is getting people together and together as a community create things. Build shortcuts, plant trees, we have ideas of wooden pathways in the rice field for a nice promenade. We have a whole bunch of things. We recently installed electricity in the, lights, sorry, in the...
Along the main road, yeah.
Not only the main road, on some back roads as well.
Mm-hmm.
We put 80 lampposts. So basically what I learned, a funny story, I didn't know how it worked, but basically government is not paying for the lights.
Yeah.
And neither is PLN. PLN is the electric companies. So it's up to the village to pay, and they didn't have the money. So we stepped in and we paid for that. It was $20,000 ish.
Yeah.
But so PLN is giving the electricity, but they're not buying the little thing with the bulb. Yeah. So that's basically what we purchased. But so now it's been installed. It's almost finished now.
Okay.
And so there is light.
Yeah.
On all the, not all the main street because it's different Banjar, but on the Kedungu Banjar, near from the beach upwards from the beach to the school, basically. So there are some things that I'm really interested in doing is talking to the Banjar to what something that would be amazing is to have at least on the main street. A rule where businesses, and it's mainly businesses, cannot build within the first 2-3 meters from the road.
Yeah, because the rest of Bali, I think you pretty much build on top of the road. Yeah.
The law is 60 centimeters from
nothing.
the subak.
Yeah.
The subak is the irrigation conduit next to the road. So you have the road, you have the irrigation left and right, and so the law is 60 centimeters from the irrigation.
Which barely gives you any space for any trees.
Nothing.
No greenery.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And then the sidewalk is built on top of that subak, yeah? So you have a 1 meter sidewalk and then straight away, or 1.5 meters, and straight away the buildings, If we had 2-3 meters, that would be the Champs-Élysées of Bali, yeah? It would be amazing.
Kedungu apart from every other neighborhood.
Absolutely.
In the whole
Absolutely.
Bali.
You can plant a bunch of trees. One thing very cool about Per-Canaan is you have to plant, I forgot the ratio, but so many trees per area. So every 100 square meters, maybe like 2 trees or 1 or 2 trees. But they have to be fruit trees. So the birds can come and pollinate other things. Yeah, so to bring the birds back. So if we were to do that, so if you have birds, then you have more trees and more flowers because they pollinate other
then it
areas.
starts becoming like how Bali was and how it should be developed,
How it is in many other areas where it's underdeveloped, But it could be.
But as soon as it starts getting developed, those things just disappear in all these other places. Then it just becomes a concrete jungle that nobody wants to live in.
Because there's no oversight.
Because there's no oversight.
There's no oversight.
So I think the advantage with what we're trying to do is that we're getting in early. At least there's a little bit of sway because there's some, we got a mass of properties that we own and control. And we can influence the community from where it is now to where it should be in 5 years. And I think we have the potential to really grow Kedungu into something that's separate from...
And we're not alone. No, we created, so we did in Kedungu what we did in Per-Canaan. We created the Kedungu Lovers Community. So it's a WhatsApp group, basically. But we have, I think, 100 people now in there. And those are residents of Kedungu, as well as people that are not necessarily living there, but have... a vested interest in the area or want to move in or have some investments or like myself, I don't live in Kedungu yet. I will next year, but I'm not living there yet. And we do meetups every month and a half. So everybody meets. We have some food and drink and then we talk about projects, how we can help, what we can do, and then people meet people. I think it's interesting.
So I think that's like as far as what we can do to kind of influence the community as a whole. But then also some of the land holdings that the Kedungu Fund has is specifically set aside for a little park or at least just some jungle regrowth. So there's some break of the monotony of the concrete.
So, one thing that's sadly missing in Bali, especially in the touristy areas, is public gardens. So
there are none.
There are none.
Not missing.
There are none.
Not too few. Zero.
Absolutely. So this is something we want to change. And so because we hold so many lands, some of the land that we are not developing will create gardens there for kids to come and play around and in a safe way. So this is something we plan to do very, very soon.
Okay, so that's the green spaces. I mean, there is a large local community in Kedungu.
Yeah.
Traditionally farmers. They've been farmers for generations, so rice farmers.
Yeah.
And I suppose, that community we're also engaged with. What kind of activities are we doing to support that kind of growth, apart from the school, which we'll touch on?
Well, we've done a few. I mean, we donate money here and there, even to. I remember there was this kid in the hospital. We helped him. Family don't have money. One thing we did 2 months ago, we donated 201 kilos of clothes. Yeah, we weighed them. Yeah. So there was a bunch of Zara clothes and H&M clothes that we had. Some were from Kedungu local community, but a big bunch. The bulk was from Bali Prod actually. It was basically the whole Bali Prod wardrobe. So all the clothes that we've accumulated over the years.
Productions.
From productions, from shoots.
Very well dressed local Kedungu residents.
Yeah.
Very stylish.
I mean, we had 200. It's all Zara and H&M basically.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So we donated that. I think they were very happy about that. Like a lot of like in Perenan, there's no poor, but families in need, more politically correct.
Yeah.
But in Kedungu, there are still some families that could need a bit of help. So we're very happy to donate that to those families.
Okay, and then I see here there is some kind of pre-planning, or it's in discussion as far as like a Kedungu shortcut, like there is in Perenan. How far along the road is that?
We are looking into it. It's very, very early stage. The idea would be to somehow connect the Kedungu street to the next one, so Pangong Tiba, where Joshua District is. I don't know where we can connect it. We're looking at the map with my partner Gede. We're looking at the maps, still looking at the maps and inquiring with landowners, and there's a river in the middle, so
little bridge.
There's a bridge, but also it needs permit, because you can't. Okay. So you need a government permit. If it's only private properties, it doesn't matter. You just do your own, access. But there's a river in between, so we need to find the exact spots where we can buy some land from different owners and get the permit from the government.
So
but that would be a game changer, because it's a bit of a pain in the neck, to go up and down.
A big pain in the neck, Okay, so I think that pretty much sums everything up. I think we've covered off everything that investors or potential investors ask us, unless there's something you want to kind of throw in there.
There are many more things we could talk about, but I think for now it's fine. But
okay,
we'll do more FAQ.
As and when they come up, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But if you got any questions, please just reach out to myself, or there's my email address I think in the description. So just drop me an email or WhatsApp. I'll happily answer anything, and so will Omri. But thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Hope everybody learned something. I really appreciate it, and I hope to be in touch soon.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.